Hi guys, again, nice to see you all there on our Vue.js Talks number 15. It's already there, powered by Epic Max and packed with fresh ideas from across the web development world. This series exists to bring developers together, to learn, to discuss, and connect around the technologies shaping tomorrow's frontend and not only frontend. At Epic Max, we built open source tools for Vue developers, VueStick UI for clean, flexible UI components, and VueStick Admin, a polished admin dashboard used worldwide. We care deeply about the Vue ecosystem and contribute to every chance we get. This edition brings three thought-provoking talks from speakers who are pushing the web forward in different ways, from improving the JavaScript ecosystem to navigating modern SaaS challenges and examining the real-world consequences of security flaws. In today's agenda, Ulrich-Matthias Schäfer with his talk, where you will discover how this initiative to make JavaScript ecosystem lighter, faster, and more secure by replacing bloated, outdated dependencies with optimized alternatives. The next one would be Luis Daniel Rubiera Guzman, with honest look at why scaling SaaS products in 2025 comes with a new technical and organizational challenges, and what founders and engineers can do about that. And last but not least, Valeria Mironova, with her Harmless and Deadly, what can hacks lead to? She will talk about the look from silly bug to serious breaches, a deep dive into the unexpected vulnerabilities that can shape or maybe shatter digital systems. Okay, guys, I think we can move on to our first speaker. It's Ulrich-Matthias Schäfer. It's nice to me to present him. He's a full-stack freelancer and open source enthusiast. He also likes to play the French horn, play volleyball, and of course some board games. I also like to play them. And what is important that he is maintainer of svg.js. So nice to see you, Ulrich, there. And I'm passing the microphone to you.
Thank you. That's actually my first time presenting on an online call, so I'm just sharing my screen.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Let me do that right now then.
While Ulrich is sharing the screen, I'm reminding you guys that if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll answer to each of them at the end of the talk of each speaker.
All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Nice. So yeah, I'm talking about the Ecosystem Performance Initiative today. And I want to start off the whole talk with just a simple question. When was the last time you accidentally opened your Node modules folder and screamed? Or, simpler said, do you care about your dependencies? Before we dive into that, a few words about myself. I mean, most of it was already said. I'm Ulrich-Matthias Schäfer. My friends call me Ulima. I'm an open source maintainer and a freelancer. Sometimes I speak on meetups like this one here, and I'm part of the e18e community. And you can find me on the usual platforms and obviously also on the e18e Discord if you want to. So what is e18e? e18e, as the title suggests, stands for Ecosystem Performance. And we are basically a community that's passionate about modernizing the JavaScript ecosystem. So it's probably one of the communities with the most diversity of all big open source projects. So we have maintainers of Vue, Svelte, Solid.js, and also Lodash maintainer is on board, just to name a few. There are more. And it's a really big group of people. And we all try to work together to make JavaScript the JavaScript ecosystem just a better place. So what's the problem? The problem is JavaScript has existed for a while and has massively grown and probably became bigger as anyone ever suggested, anyone ever thought, and it has accumulated a lot of technical debt. So if you look into a typical modules folder, it looks like something like this nowadays, or sometimes also just a black hole. It's huge, and there are loads of dependencies in there, and there are basically three main problems here. A lot of packages are redundant. So a lot of packages just do the same thing. Different people wrote them and different people use them. So you just have the same functionality multiple times. they're also often bloated because they come with a lot of functionality you don't actually need, because you only need a specific function. Lodash is a good example here. And often they are published with source maps and also their sources. So you have to download, when you install them, you have to download way more than you actually need to be. And then there are also unmaintained packages, which are per se not a problem, because a package can just be complete, but it happens that unmaintained packages also can be written in a better way, because we now have ES modules, for example, and there are a lot of more native functionality. Often they have dependencies that target older browsers or Node versions, so we try to update those as well. The impact of all of that is obviously when you have all these dependencies, is that your performance suffers, you have longer install times, you have bigger bundles, slower builds, all that. And if you ever had to do a security audit where you have to go through all your dependencies, that's a huge pain. And we try to make this a little bit better. And that's exactly what e18e was created to solve. For this, we created 3 categories, pillars we call them. The 3 pillars of e18e are the cleanup, where we just go into open source projects and try to replace the dependencies or remove the dependencies if they're not needed anymore, because native functionality is available or the better alternatives or something like that. Then there's also speed up, where we try to make core packages faster. So for example, there's fdir. I'm not sure if you heard about that. It's used by a lot of development packages and tools. It's about crawling directories. And if that gets faster, basically all your tooling gets faster, and it's just nice to have. And then at the 3rd pillar, we have level up, where we try to write alternatives to packages that are too big or old to update. For example, if you have, for example, Chalk has a lot of edge case handling for some things, and they're not really needed anymore, and it's just became a really big package because it has just historically grown. So we try to cut this down to a simpler, more aligned package with new functionality and not so much edge case handling, so to say. So let me talk about a bit about these pillars here. The first cleanup one, where we basically remove also redundant polyfills, for example, for Node versions that are not needed anymore. There are polyfills for basically all of JavaScript, because something like object.set prototype off didn't exist back then, so there's a polyfill for that. We also replace unmaintained packages and with modern alternatives, and sometimes they're not unmaintained, or they're just bigger or slower, and we try to make them faster, better. We also eliminated one-liner packages like is number, is odd, is even, these ones, because you always install a whole package to download the whole README, all the packages, just for this one line. That's actually a Vue plugin that does that for you at build time. It basically gets rid of all these packages if you want to. But if there's still your dependencies, I still have to download them. And also we just upgrade out in the dependencies, because sometimes that's enough to just get the new stuff. A lot of new dependencies cut away a lot of the dependencies as well. So you end up with less dependencies in your code base. And so we created some repositories to help us with this task. The first one is the ecosystem cleanup repository, which is basically just an issue tracker. We have loads of issues there where we want to do work. We have lists of packages where we want to remove a dependency, something like that. And there's also README how to tackle those issues there. You can have a look if you want to. Then there's also a module replacements repository where we have a manifest where you basically say which package can be replaced with what alternative or with what alternatives. And they also explain why or when you should do it and maybe when not. And then we also have the module replacements code mods repository, where we have loads of code mods that do this replacements for you. So you just have to run them over your code base and they will just do the replacements, so you don't have to do it. One of these issues in our issue tracker could look like this. In this particular sense, we want to replace pump with stream.pipeline because it's supported since node.10, and we basically create a table with all the packages that use pump, in which version they use it, the traffic that's generated just because it has to download pump all the time because it has so many downloads. And this table we generate through a tool I wrote that was basically my debut in e18e when I first joined. The first thing I did was basically writing this tool, and I can give you a little bit action here. I hope that just works now. If I do this, can you see my terminal? I hope so. So if you do that,
not yet. We just see the demo.
No. Okay, let me maybe can. How can I solve this now? I didn't expect that. Maybe I have to share my whole screen then. Quick second. Nope. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Nice. So you basically just run npx fuzzyma, that's my GitHub name, and then e18e tools. I expected to write more tools, but it's only that one. And we want, in this case, we want to replace the pump dependency because we realize it's not needed anymore. We want to get the first 10 packages, the 10 biggest packages that use it. And then we also have to specify an NPM registry, which is not really an NPM registry. It's like an altered version, because the first thing I had to do was clone the whole GitHub registry to make this work. And it's now hosted by a community member, which is really nice. So we can now run this, and it will do a little bit of stuff. And after a while of hopefully doing stuff, you have a nice list of stuff of packages. It's basically the same list you saw in the issue. This tool also has a Markdown export if you want to, so you can just copy and paste it to the GitHub issue. And that tremendously helped us with optimizing the way we work, because before we had to research it all on our own, and this just took away a lot of time. All right, that's for the demo. Here are some cleanup examples that worked really well for us. First one, I want to say talk about Netlify, because Netlify was able to reduce the edge function, this package, from 35 megabytes to just 8 kilobytes. I'm not sure what they did there. It's like magic. Obviously, we don't have these reductions often, but they tend to happen, and it's nice to show them as a showcase. But most of the time, we just shave away a few kilobytes. But sometimes, often, it's also 50% because we get rid of a whole dependency tree that's not needed anymore. For example, Storybook also was able to have a 50% size reduction to version 9 when they moved from version 8 to version 9. And I will also show you a picture on the next slide where you can see the dependency tree, how it shrunk. And version 10, they got rid of the common.js version, so it's ESM only now, and that shaved again 30 megabytes off, and that's very nice. So here's a graph of the dependencies of Storybook 8 to Storybook 9, and you can see it's a huge difference. There are still a few dependencies, but you have to zoom in now in order to see them, and that's pretty cool that this is possible. And I think in a lot of older projects, there's still a lot of stuff that can be done. To generate those graphs, we use a website called npm graph. This is npm graph here. For example, here we have Beat. You can see it has a really flat dependency structure. But if you go to, for example, ESLint, takes a while again because it has to load the stuff. You can see it's way more. And they are also really reluctant on letting us help them because they want to stay stable. They're really scared of breaking stuff. And they don't realize they're probably the only person still using Chalk in the ecosystem instead of Pico collars. But yeah, if you go to Graph here, you can actually see you also have suggested replacements here. And those are defined through our manifest that I was talking about earlier. So you see all the dependencies that are in this graph that could be potentially replaced with other ones. And you can basically go through the nodes here if you want to. So it's really nice to just discover things in your own code base. Another tool we use is the Node Module Inspector by Anthony Fu. It's looks really nice, and it shows you everything you need to know about the dependencies, if they're ESM, if they're common.js, how many dependencies they have, their size, how old the last version is, and all that. It also has a graph view and a lot of more views. So it's a great tool if you ever want to dive deep into your own packages. So that's it about the cleanup pillar. We're moving on to the speed-up one. And here we have a really nice example to show you, which is a prettier CLI. There's now a new experimental one. I'm not sure if it's still experimental, but you can use it with the experimental flag. It's already there. And if you run this on the TSES lint repository, on some computers at least, you get a reduction from 29 seconds to 12 seconds, which is also huge. We chopped off a lot of runtime, a lot of old code, and we're able to have a really big speed up. And that also means that whenever you save a file in your editor and you're using Prettier, it will just be faster. And your CI will also just be faster. And that's cool because you can see the whole ecosystem. Another one, which is also a nice example, is Immer. It's used a lot in the React ecosystem, and there's a pending PR by AceMark, which just makes it 20% faster on average. So that means that all React devs now have 20% faster applications now, which is also huge. Yeah, and third example here is Svelte. We made a lot of improvements to the language tools and ESLint parser with Svelte. But Svelte is one example where I have some numbers here. It was run on the Chatzy and Svelte repository and went from 14 seconds to 10 seconds. And yeah, if you're a developer like me, you know that these seconds actually count. Even though it's only 4 seconds, you tend to run those commands pretty often. It's pretty annoying if you have to wait. So it's really nice when we can reduce these times. The level up category is basically just whenever you don't need the whole edge case handling anymore. So there are loads of packages that the community created. But TinyGlob is one I want to highlight here. It has seen wide adoption and is also used by Vite now. And it basically replaces all the glob libraries, like glob, fast glob, and there was another glob. And all the other glob libraries also have issues, but nobody ever cared because they always existed. And now there's TinyGlob. It also had some issues at the start, but it's now really rock solid, used in big projects. And if you need a glob library, there you have it now. It's really one of these success examples we have. There's also TinyLips. TinyLips is zero dependency alternatives for popular packages. I would say it's like a little bit like a Lodash. You get all these utilities you commonly need without all the edge case handling, and they're really small and really nice choice in most cases. Then there's also UnJS, the whole ecosystem around that. They focus on running them everywhere, so you can run it on the cloud, on edge functions, and or Node, wherever you want to, and the browser. They're also really performant, and they've written also always a good choice. Then there's also ES tooling repository. That's basically a lot of our stuff we wrote. It has some ESLint plugins that are faster than the ones they're replacing, and there's also the module replacements repository, and the code mods is also hosted there. So a bit to the history how it all started, because e18e is not really well known now because it's really young. Yeah, there was James, which is a really weird username that he has. James Garbett. He was chopping away on reducing dependencies and open source projects for a while now. He also had his own repository where he tracked all these things for himself, but it never really took off. He had some prize, but it never really went anywhere because he was only a single person, and it's like a huge thing to do. But then there was like one day a Twitter thread from Anthony Fu, where he basically subtweeted Bjorn, and he was investigating the Astrodox build, and he was able to make it way faster. And Anthony Fu was like, "Wow, that's amazing! We should have a person that does it full time for the ecosystem." And James basically commented under there, "Yeah, we should definitely do that." And so that's basically where it all started. And they kind of started talking about it and decided to create a Discord. And there was also Marvin, who was doing blog posts about ecosystem performance at the time, and also Paytech as one of the first people there, as one of the core members. And they created the Discord of it. And it was slowly growing all this time. But it wasn't growing that much, right? But then something happened, the Node 0.4 drama. I'm not sure if you heard about that, but if you didn't, basically what happened was that a maintainer of a really popular open source projects decided to make his library compatible with Node 0.4. That means he downgraded the requirement. And to do that, he added like 50 dependencies, and it was all his own dependencies. So that created a lot of drama in the whole tech space, and funnily led to a wave of people joining the e18e Discord, because they were like, oh my God, we can't have that. We have to work against that. So that's really cool, and the numbers speak for themselves. We now have over 10,000 Discord members, and they're still rising, and has become a real movement in the JavaScript ecosystem that we're really happy about. So since then, we already had a few major collaborations with a lot of companies and projects. I just have a few here. You saw the Netlify example before. We also collaborated with Sentry. We had the prettiest CLI. We also had some PRs direct router and Astro. Void Zero is like a long-term friend, I guess. We also contribute to NX, and even Blue Sky. We made a bundle a bit smaller for Blue Sky. So when you have the app, it's probably loads a little bit faster. And so what I mentioned before as well. Now I want to talk about a few newer things we are building, we are working on. First thing is the e18e CLI, which basically is there to analyze your project and then helps you do the migration for you. It basically uses the code mods you have already and applies them for you, because it's not always easy to run them on your own. It also gives you some suggestions how your packages consume, because it runs publint on your package, so you know better what to change when errors are there. And there's also a GitHub integration for that. We have a GitHub action that does way more than that. I will share it on the next slide. But before I do that, I want to do another demo here.
Sorry, Ulrich, there is one thing. I think we lost your demonstration.
Huh?
Yeah, I don't see your screen if you're presenting something.
For how long?
Oh, maybe for 1 minute or 1.5. Not that long.
Okay. Maybe okay, yeah, I stopped sharing for some reason. I don't know. Let's see. So did you see the major collaborations?
Yeah, starting from this, I think we lost your screen. But
okay,
we heard everything, so it must be okay.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. So yeah, there was demo time now. So yeah, what we can do now is basically just type in the command here that you can see here, analyze. Hope I can not mistype that. And what it will do is analyze this CLI test package that I have here. And it finds in this package that there is something in one file. There's a module chalk that can be replaced with a better alternative. It also tells me that that I should probably fix the package.main, because exports are better now because it's running publint. So it gives you a few suggestions what to change. And when you now have a look at the file which I have here, just index.js, you can see it imports chalk. When I run this, it's just colors text. That's what chalk's doing.
So sorry once again, Ulrich, but you're presenting the demonstration now, I mean your representation, but the terminal is also not there.
What? But I said whole screen. Oh man. Trying again. I'm sorry for that. So I'm doing it again. Okay, cool, clear. So running the analyze command again. I'm sorry. it basically finds that chalk can be replaced, and it also tells me that when I publish this package, there will probably be some problems because I'm not using exports. I'm just using package main. So it basically tells me what's wrong, and it also helps me to migrate. If you look at the file here, you can see that there's indeed chalk in there, and what chalk does is coloring terminal output, so it's green, you can see it. And now when I go ahead and run this, e18e, I can run it interactively, or I can also just say that it should just do chalk. I will do that here. And when I do it, it does stuff. Says one migrated. If I now look at the file, you can see it uses pickle colors instead, which is like the library everyone kind of agreed on now. And you can still run it, and it will still be green. And you can see it's not just replacing the import; it's also changing the actual implementation, and that's pretty cool. That's what code modes can do for you. Yeah, so that's what we're working on. We're still defining the scope and what should actually happen when, and also try to better test it before we actually release it somewhere. But feedback is welcome if you want to use it. There's also a whole discussion on our Discord. Yeah, so you can get on board here. So why can't I? There you go. The next thing I want to talk about is the GitHub action we have now, because it's rather important. The most important part here is the trust levels, because it tells you when a package, one of your dependencies or one of your sub-dependencies, lost its provenance. So that means when provenance basically is achieved when you publish from a workflow on a GitHub action or something. And when it's lost, it's basically a really, really solid sign that this publish thing was tampered with, and you have a supply chain attack. So this action can actually help you with detecting those supply chain attacks, and you probably should run it everywhere where you have to renovate workflows or your GitHub the dependabot things, or any other PR if you want to. And it also tells you when your dependencies are growing, when the install size gets bigger, when you have duplicate versions, all that stuff. It also gives you the replacement suggestions that also the analyze command of the CLI is giving you. It's a really nice GitHub action. I think there's no excuse to not use it because it can actually help you mitigate these attacks. So what are our goals for 25 and 26? 25 is almost over, so 26 now. We want to focus a bit more on speed. The most part, the major effort has been put into the cleanup because it's simple to do. You just go to the open source repository, replace dependency, submit a PR, and it's done. The speed one is a bit more elaborate because you have to benchmark, you have to know how JavaScript works and how can it be made more speedier. But most JavaScript developers are not able to do that because they just use JavaScript normally. They are not like this performance focus there. So it's hard to do, but we try to do it anyway because I feel like these speed focuses can really be one thing for the whole system. We also try to write more better tooling. We are now doing the CLI, and I think there's more to come. And to make this whole migrations and all that stuff more effortless. It would be nice. It would be so easy as just run npm audit or something like that, and then you have like a perfect dependency chain. We're never going to happen, but maybe we can write tooling to make it a bit easier. Then we also want to have more community engagement. We had one meetup at the Vue Amsterdam conference this year. And on other conferences, there were also some people always there that could meet together, but we want to maybe have a real e18e meetup and also community calls. And we also want to do live streams. There's something planned for 2025 already. So yeah, let's see where it goes, and I hope the community is growing more and more for sure. So how can you get involved? It's pretty easy. You can just join our Discord. If you head to chat.e18e.dev, it's basically a Discord invitation link. Our website is e18e.dev. If you want to visit that one, it's also nice to look at. It has whole documentation, everything about migrations. You also can create issues at the ecosystem cleanup repository, where we have all these lists. If you find any dependency that could be replaced, you can edit there, use a tool to get a list of packages that can be replaced and use that. You obviously can also provide feedback for the CLI if you want to, and maybe you did something on your own and you have something to share. You can also just head to the Discord. The people are there very welcoming and will help you get started and cheer you up when you do something great. And it would be really nice to have you. So that's everything from my side. If there are any questions, feel free to ask them or put them in the chat or whatever. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ulrich. That was really intensive, and I like the idea. I didn't heard about e18e before. I definitely put the bookmark on the website now to dig it later by my own. That's really cool. Why exactly this name? Why e18e?
Well, e18e, I didn't explain it. Well, I forgot about it. e18e is basically ecosystem performance. It starts with an E and ends with an E, and there are 18 letters in between.
Okay.
It's
Cool.
like
Funny.
internationalization or localization, all these fancy terms.
Okay, that's smart. Okay. Huh. Yeah, that looks like a pure magic for me. I have to check out how everything is working there. The numbers is really impressive. Okay, I think we don't have any questions in the chat, and we can move on to our next speaker. Thank you again, Ulrich. That was really nice to hear new info today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's move on. So our next speaker is Luis Rubiera. He is CTO, OCS believer and professional status quo challenger. He's fascinated by how history explains the present and how tech can rewrite it. He leads a cybersecurity company while keeping the one foot on the future, convinced that AI can still be good, maybe. Nice to see you there, Luis. Passing the mic to you.
Thank you, Pavel. So I will share my screen. Let's go present now, entire screen. If at some point you have any issue, please don't hesitate to tell me and I will put it back. I'm even gonna move you to another screen so I see everything is going well. Okay, let's go. So hi everyone. My conference is not technical at all. It's about SaaS. So how it becomes more and more complicated nowadays, and what do we do to make it easier today? This conference, I've done it this year like 4 times in different part of the world, of Europe. It's mostly a 1-hour format, but I'll try to short it up in 25-30 minutes. First, myself, I'm CTO of Cloud-IAM. I have like around 15 years experience. I'm a mostly architect, backend, DevOps, not front-end at all. I've been a lecturer for about 5 years, and I'm an enthusiast on open source, but not in the way you probably know. And beside of that, I love pets, I love gym, and I love music. So please don't hesitate to connect with me even if it's not professional. So before everything, this is a conference that is based on experience and data. So I'm gonna make a little bit of history, but the experience, probably you don't know my company because it's very niche, but the experience comes from where we're building. So first I'm gonna talk to you just 1 minute about my company, what do we do, and more or less what size I'm talking about. So Cloud-IAM is the company. We are the biggest key clock software as a service in Europe. We represent around 1,000 requests per second. We have presence in 5 continents. We are a certified company. We have support 24/7 for our clients. We work with both workforce identity access management and client access management. If you don't know what it is, we can discuss later. We have around 10 million monthly active user. We have around 100 million connections per month. We have a freemium model. So if you ever just want to try using Keycloak for free, one realm, you can connect and create your account without even asking me. We are also around 10 people. So we are not a lot. We are fully remote. We are all in France right now. And it's a profitable company. So we managed to build a business that works, that gives to the open source community, but also helps to give some food to people. So now that you know a bit about me and the company, the agenda is the following. So first, we're gonna talk about the history, so not at all about the company. Then we're gonna talk about the now. So we're gonna discuss briefly, okay, proving the point, why it's harder now, then what is happening now, and then we're going to talk about the future. So based on the now, what can we do to build something? So basically the word is how the minimum of an MVP has changed in 2025. And then we will discuss a little bit about how to create something meaningful through hype. So usually talk about AI or about open source. If I have the time, I will discuss about both. So let's time travel. So I'm gonna go back not that far though to 2016. So many things happened in 2016. If you ever saw Deadpool or Fantastic Beast, it's already almost 10 years old. But today I'm not gonna talk about the pop culture. I'm gonna talk about Salesforce, and I'm gonna talk about a very famous incident that happened in Salesforce. So if I talk to you about the timeline, there were two things that happened. So in 2016, if you Google NA14, the first thing you will find is the outrage of Salesforce. So for those who do not know how Salesforce work, so basically when you use Salesforce, you're using an instance that is deployed somewhere. And NA14 means the instance 14 in North America. For those who do not know what people use on Salesforce, it's usually a CRM that can be with your customers if they have any issue, or your partner that you're gonna buy or sell something. So there is always, let's say, direct impact on your revenue when Salesforce is down. So what happened? There was something went wrong in the 10th of May, so 0510 May 10. Something happened, and while they were recovering the backup, they broke the backup itself, so they have no data. So there were about 1 day of things not working correctly. There were some kind of outage, like an hour come in, an hour come back, and then so 48 hours later, they said, okay, there is irreversible data loss. So they could not retrieve what happened during that day. So around 24 hours of data loss. So what were the consequences? So who was impacted? So there were thousands of users across hundreds of companies. Total, there were like 3.5 to 5 hours of data permanently lost of that day, beside of the data that was never generated because of the outrage. So as 12 hours of we really working and not working, depending in which time zone you are working on, it can be impact you a lot. The downtime was nearly 24 hours, and the media coverage will basically use the word mega outage, that before Salesforce was used more for blackouts and everything, but was the first time that was democratized or vulgarized the word mega outage for software. And people made fun of the CEO, which I don't know if he's a billionaire right now. I think he's still the CEO of Salesforce, because as there were, imagine 10,000 people having issues, let's say half of them complain, or a third of them complain on Twitter back then. Imagine trying to reply to everybody the same thing. So this guy, Mark Benioff, he tried to reply everybody different, and he became a joke because everybody was being retweet or reply with what Mark Benioff was doing. So he became more like a joke at that point than really solving any issue, because at the end the data was lost and there was nothing to do. So now let's talk money-wise. What were the consequences? So if you think, okay, there was data loss, that could mean that I didn't receive something from our partners, or there is a client that asked for something that they didn't receive. There are many ways to see these that could impact really money-wise the client, the partners, or the company itself. So in reality, what happened back then is nothing impacted. There was no public compensation program. The stock market stayed at its place at around $77. No churn, so nobody left, stopped using Salesforce because of this, at least not declared. And then almost 10 years, so a year ago, there was a report that said that it costed around 20 million, but there were no specific. It was 20 million. It could be lawyer, it could be technical, it could be firing, it could be some clients that they wanted some kind of discount because of the issue. But if you compare with the value that around that time it was billion or something, you can say, okay, it's not that big of an impact. That was 2016, so almost 10 years ago. Now, if we go a bit forward to 2022, so just 3 years ago, right, we could discuss about another incident that happened to another company that you probably know about, Atlassian. So same timeline. Probably everybody here had someone that knows someone that had this issue, a routine script that went wrong, that blocked users, that trigger an incident. This incident made some website not available for some clients. As you know, everything is it's a website in Atlassian, and they took them like a week to solve most of the client, and then like almost 2 weeks after, they closed the incident. So we're talking about maybe 13 days of incident, more or less. So if we, who was impacted by this? So there were not even 1,000 users, so 775, very accurate, mid to large scale paying enterprise customers out of the 226,000, which is a total of around 0.3% of the total. You could say, well, it's the mid to large, so it's paying a lot of money. Clients are paying a lot of money, but still, comparing to the whole amount, is nothing. Most of the clients, so I think it was something like a 90%, 80% were solved in the first week, but the totality was solved in 2 weeks. There was no data loss, so no more than 5 minutes when it happened. Again, another backlash, but nothing very, very big. And then if we talk a little bit about what in Atlassian was impacted, the 3 software that were impacted were Jira, Confluence, and Jira Service Management. So you could say, well, maybe I have some pipeline that depends on Jira to deploy in production. And I will tell you that's bad design if you are coupled so tightly with Atlassian to deliver in production. But if not this, nothing of this software should block your production nor your clients. This is more an internal tool to use. And maybe Confluence for documentation, but nobody's gonna leave or stop using a company because the documentation is not working. You could even say nobody stopped using Cloudflare since what happened yesterday, right? Or before yesterday, I don't even remember. But now let's discuss about the consequences. So we had Salesforce that literally people lost the money that didn't go or didn't get. Now we're talking about Atlassian. Nothing happened to Salesforce, so you will say maybe it didn't happen to Atlassian. So what I'm going to show you is the stock market value of Atlassian that year. So first, I'm going to show you April, May. So as we can more or less say that the top in April was around 320, and after May, so let's say June, it was around 180. So we could say it's roughly 1.5. So it's huge, the amount of money lost. There was a tendency, maybe a bit before, as this happened on April. There was already a tendency, but you could say, well, it started on very, very early April. Let's be a bit more fair. Let's compare. Let's make it the year to be more broad on the analysis. And as you can see, it's even worse. So there were a total of 3 tendencies. So from the start, it was going down. In January, it went down. In February, it went a bit up. Then March went down. Stock market going fast up and down. And then in April, and as you can see, it went very much aligned with the incident of those 2 weeks, the length of the tendency of going down of the stock market. So see, okay, it went down, it went up, it went down, it went up, and it went really down, and it took them very, very long to get up. And if we compare at the end, we could say that the start of the year, so January 2022, was around 400, say 380, with around 100 in December 2022. So it was a very, very bad year. So can we say it had no impact? No, it had an impact. Was the impact the only thing that mattered? Probably not, because it went up, it went down. But what it matters here is that it had an impact on the stock market compared to Salesforce, knowing what Atlassian does versus Salesforce. So now that we know about the past, so it's getting harder. We don't know ourselves being in the position on being high in cybersecurity. If we have an issue like this, the market wouldn't play so easy with us. So now that we went to the past and we proved our point, let's get to the now and what we have experienced in a company cybersecurity in Europe using open source tool. So what I'm gonna show you now is a public feedback that some customers, they said they wanted to share with us. So they publicly said, I want to share you this feedback about our front end that we migrated from Vue.js to React, and I'm sorry, community. Sorry, we'll continue. So the first, these are the two feedback that that I want to share with you that shows two opposite points. So the first one is they gave us 5 out of 5, and they said, if I'm gonna simplify, really great job, latest version, just had a little thing, I didn't find a functionality, I thought it was removed, but it's probably me. Keep the good job or the good work. And the other one, and I'm gonna caricaturize a little bit, gave us 1 out of 5, that is the minimum, and said, come on, can I just check out the old console now? Your UI is crap. Now you block navigation by this pop-up. I don't have feedback yet. So based on these that I'm taking as example over one or hundreds of feedback we've had, I wanted to give you 2 views on this subject. So right now, users or leads, they care or seeing things improving. They would say it's natural because I'm using a tool and I would like to see it getting better. But if we transpose to another domain, like McDonald's, food, if McDonald's is not giving you the quality you want, you just stop going to McDonald's and just switch to Burger King. So when we reach a point where we have high concurrency, competition, people stop caring. But we are at a point that people care. They care in 2 ways. The first one is, okay, it's improving, keep going. Even myself, I would have given 5 out of 5 because I didn't find a functionality. So I will say, I don't find it, it's your problem, it should be easy. In the other side, they are not scared of sharing that they are not happy with what they have. And they say, okay, I know I'm a customer. I know you cannot do anything and you're not going to throw me under the bus. So I'm going to tell you what I want, how I want it, and when I want it, which is now. Another one we are seeing is how things are getting political. So in the past, so in my last 15 years, often people were using the word I am, what I'm doing, and then where I'm based on. So let's say I'm a fintech company or I'm a Web3 company based on LA, based on London, based on Paris. We have seen a switch on this. Now it's not, I'm a fintech company based on this, I'm first this. I'm a first, and I can tell you, I'm not European myself. I'm an European as a lead. These are leads telling us, contacting us inbound. I'm an European, blah, blah company. Could be health tech, fintech, Web3. And I would like to use your product. So first, who am I? Doesn't matter what tech I'm doing. First, I'm a European. First, I'm American. First, I'm a Chinese. So we're seeing this tendency of putting the tech as something else. Maybe because there is market for everyone. And if there is this fintech product here, maybe there is also a fintech product there. And from the other side, so if you see I'm an European, blah, blah, I am European, so I'm contacting you as an European. Then I can go from the other side. Okay, I'm not gonna tell you who am I, what I'm selling, or why I want to buy you, but I want to stop using the American solution. I am using this, I wanna switch to a non-American. Myself is not the best lead I want, because I would rather all my clients to come because we're doing the best product and we are doing the best and we are trying to do the best in Europe. But it's something that is happening right now. This happened around like 2 months after Trump arrived to the White House. So, and we are seeing a tendency. More and more people are saying, okay, I want to stop with an American. I'm switching to, and not necessarily Europeans. We have received leads from Asia telling us, okay, I want to switch. I want to make the switch. Not because the tool is not working, maybe not because it's too expensive. It's just that I want to switch to something different. So this is a bit political itself. Now we can switch to something of knowledge. So now leads, they know what they can have. So in the past, when we went from no tech to tech, what was written, that was printed, was the law. You cannot change something that is printed, right? When we went to the internet, we went to having website, the first impression, the first intuition people got was, okay, it's written in a screen, it should be the law. It's not that anymore. People are very aware about the options we have. People are very aware about what others do. And how can this materialize? In these three phrases. Do you have a startup plan account discount? So you don't even need to put it on your website, on your app, on your SaaS. People are going to ask you directly. When we were not profitable, maybe in the first year, we had a lot of people saying, do you have a startup plan discount? And we're like, but we are not even making money. How can we do? But you don't even need to put it or not. They know. They manipulate you. They try to manipulate also the SaaS to do this kind of stuff. So for example, I would like to upgrade to the next pricing, but it's too expensive. It's written, the pricing is there, it's a slide, it's a SaaS, but they still try to bargain. In the past, it would have been harder because people are, no, this is what is on the website. I'm not going to contact anybody. I'm not going to do this. No, it's there. It's what is written there. I'm going to do. People don't even care anymore if you have a very nice UI with all the pricing and very beautiful names. They're going to ask anyway, hey, with a chat probably, hey, do you have something cheaper? Do you have a discount or whatever? And finally, one that is not written but somehow got leaked to everybody is that Amazon, in this case, I started with this, with the 3 years commitment discount. Now it's a norm. Like they now leads know that ARR is the rule of thumb to have company growth. So they know if you stay 3 years is better than commitment from 1 year, even if you pay more. The classical, I pay 10% less because you're paying now fall in a year. If you commit to 3 years, maybe reduce 5% out of that, or 10% more out of it. So you don't need to put it. They ask directly. They have this knowledge, and it doesn't matter what branch you are going for. People will go and ask because it became the standard, and knowledge became also the standard, even if it's not available. In the political also view, we have been seeing also the values of the people. So as now we have more and more tools, more and more SaaS, people are more aware that there are choices that can link their values to it. In our case, we do sell an open source solution. We do try to give the best support and be the best in what we do. But as a client, I wouldn't use a tool just because it's open source. Use a tool because it's good. And the best is open source. This is what I'm aiming for. But we have clients saying, look, I don't even want to see elsewhere. I want open source, and I want to use open source and I don't even know how to use it. I want my company to use open source, which is more value-wise. My values are related to the open source community. I don't know if it will work. I don't know how much it differs from Okta, Ping Identity, or whatever. I just want to go to open source, which tells that now, as we have more options, we are trying to have the options that align more with our values. Now we enter a bit in the market of cars. There are tens, hundreds of brands of cars. You choose the brand that suits you better regarding your values. And another one that you say is even more into the political and the values of the people is, can you deploy in a carbon neutral data center? Which I started, didn't even know if this existed in Europe, but yes, it does exist. And yes, we can deploy in a carbon neutral data center. And I'm gonna keep it there regarding this subject, but this is not all. Clients know about SLA. They want to know when they want to have SLA from day zero. So service level agreement, 99.99999. They want serious visibility, which means they want to know not only that it works, not that, okay, in the paper, in the website, in the app itself looks good. I want to know who is using it. I want to know what are you writing for? Who are you beside of what I'm seeing on the website? So what I'm doing in my app is not enough anymore. Everybody wants a Slack channel with their clients. Everybody wants this, or a Discord, having direct connection with, ideally, with the developers. Somehow, we also want roadmap. So this was very taboo in the past. Now everybody's saying, we have more and more leads saying, okay, I want to use your product. Everything is good. So all the flags are green, but I would like to be sure, where are you heading? So to know you're not thinking just about the present, and you're also thinking about the future. People want certification more and more, and there are more and more certification. And people are using more and more short manipulation, which just means before switching company, I'm going to tell company where I am, oh, it's so expensive, I'm going to leave. And if I do leave, I tell the other company, well, I use this company and I want to switch, but it's so expensive. So they use this manipulation to make it cheaper too. Finish with the blah, blah. So this was the history plus the experience. Now let's go to the concrete. How can we define an MVP in 2025? How it had changed tools-wise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this iceberg, going from before coding to while coding to once you have a production. So in every phase, things had changed a little bit, a lot. You will tell depending on what are you doing in SaaS. So let's go. Before coding, and I'm going to go very fast on this. Before coding, sharing the ideas, it's okay now. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to take your IPO. You don't know if things are going to go your way. No investor is going to tell you, go with your idea and go crazy with this one idea. Everybody's investing in people who can pivot. So if you have an idea, the first thing you should do is check if there is something related to it. Is there any Discord about it? Is there any Slack, open source, Revolt, Mattermost? Is there someone talking about it in a more community way? If there is something that exists there, so you can share your idea. Then you can use some informal. So once you have, talk with people who know, you can start sharing in your own specialty or your own network. So if you have any group in Reddit or you have some followers in X or Twitter or whatever, so now you start talking about it. Once you have more or less an idea going on, you already said, okay, people are thinking, they have some feedback, I posted, I have some traction. For this, I don't need to code. This is the idea. Then you can also, most of the people don't know this, but you can either do it for free or pay Medium and HackerMoon to write an article if you want to see if you have traction. This is more the formal. So we go from the informal to the friend to the informal to everybody, and then we go to the formal. You start writing and thinking how you're going to have your idea. This way you're going to have the visibility that I said just before. Once you have all of these, and some of you might say, yeah, but what I do is so niche, or what I do is so common, or what I want to do is just Uber in, I don't know, in Malaysia, that already exists probably. I'm going to do Uber in Australia, that also exists. But maybe there is already a Discord about it. You put it on X. You don't need developers in one, and you need developers in the other. Doesn't matter. This is from the perspective of the idea itself. Now, when you go to the how to write that idea into something you will develop, then you go to the products like Linear, Open Project, Canny, and Product Board. There are tools that are made to help people, to help developers or founders to write the ideas and have feedback. So you can write a roadmap, or you can write some ideas, features, and you can both share it in everything that is on the side, share it so people can give you feedback, even before coding. So you can say, okay, I think I'm going to develop this. And you share it with the Discord that you found. You share it with the people who replied in Twitter, or the people who liked your post in LinkedIn, whatever. You start by doing that. And then finally, you have your roadmap that is shared, and you have some feedback on the roadmap. Then you can go on something more specific, especially for the features, saying, okay, I have this roadmap that looks good. Everybody say, okay, I can see the roadmap, the big ideas. Now saying, okay, we're going to develop this. And you can have feedback on voting system, so you can prioritize things. Even if it's just to raise funds, this is a huge thing to have to show tractions to investors to see, okay, we want to go there. The community wants us to go there. Do you want to come with us? Or you can use it also if you already have a pre-seed or a seed to say, okay, we want to pivot because you're saying it, our dear VC, but the community is saying otherwise, and we don't think that way. What do you want to do? So you put some weight share that is not only in you. Now we go to the wild coding. The wild coding, the first thing I will say, do not code your website. Please do not waste your time. This is not your domain. A website is for people to find you, what you've done, what you did in Slack, what your product board, everything. You like AI, you can use Lovable. You don't like AI, you can use Webflow. If you like open source, you can use Plasmic and host it yourself. Don't do notifications. Don't do them by yourself. There are tools that already do this. Headaway app is what we do. Just one app that you don't need to worry about having WebStalker, SSE, handling digest, mails, and everything. Just use one app, very, very cheap, to not waste your time when developing your app to handle notifications. Nobody wants to log in your app, so do not develop your own login system. Of course, I put my company there, but it's not only the ours. So Zero, there's Firebase, there are many. If you are in Microsoft ecosystem, you can do. Then I'm gonna go very fast in the rest. Documentation is very important. It's easier if you do it while coding than doing it after. Don't try to do a payment system. Try, if you're doing a SaaS, eat the dog food your application. So try to have an API client to try everything. Feature flag everything. You don't need to develop yourself anymore. Feature flag is something that when you try to do it afterwards becomes very complicated. You scale, it's very, very complex and annoying. There are tools like Launch Darkly or protocols like Open Feature that is open source that you can use to handle it by itself instead of doing environment variables or active and not active. Of course, Figma, of course, a Goliath search engine. And then production, I'm not going to go because I don't have much time, but everything from incident to analysis to tracking. And tell you that if you don't know, Ribbit is a RGPD compliant tracking, feature tracking. So it's not user tracking, it's feature tracking. So you can know if someone is using your feature and respecting the European legislation. I will advise it very much. Then everything, don't develop your own CRM or your own chat with the client, use tools, and of course, everything in the CI/CD, in the monitoring stack. And this QR code you're seeing here is a website that I'm developing using Lovable that give you this list. So if you ever want it, you can just scan it. So I'm going to go fast in this last part before we go, is in creating something meaningful. So I'm going to talk about hype. Very, very fast on AI. Probably you've seen this tweet that became very, very trendy 2 years ago about this guy that said that bought a Chevrolet Tahoe, I think. That bought, Chevy Tahoe from Chevrolet for €1 or $1. I don't know. So for those who saw this tweet, this is not real. But what is interesting, so the tweet, the guy really posted this. This is a entrepreneur worth something some millions that knew how AI was being used, and he decided to joke about this. But what happened is that it created a shit ton of traction because the market knew how things were developed, and people started saying, wow, but what happened if to my app happens the same? So everybody started believing, oh, did this happen to Chevrolet? Then Chevrolet said, no, this didn't happen. Nobody bought a Tahoe for $1, but it was too late. The damage was already done. People were rollbacking on AI saying, wait, let's hold a bit on the having the chatbot with the LLM trying and the MCP trying to sell stuff. Let's keep it low. But it was not enough. So you can see here, we are February 2024. Air Canada was held liable by the Canada justice system because their chatbot was giving fake discount coupons to people or discount codes. And people tried to use it at the end, and then they couldn't use it. So they said, or Canada initially said, no, the chatbot is a separate identity. We are not linked to them. But then the justice system of Canada said, no, if you promise to give a discount, you have to give it. So they paid because of the consequences on this. And there is a whole conference about the subject, how this still works. This is a conference in 2025. It's not mine. It's from a cybersecurity expert called Brian Vermeer. I will totally advise for you to see it if you ever have time. This is the link for his YouTube presentation of this conference. So just to wrap up this part, be careful. A year ago, everybody was talking about RAG and how amazing is RAG. Then everybody started thinking, but well, if I have a huge context, do I really need a RAG? Now everybody's talking about MCP. Tomorrow it might be MCP client, maybe something else. Just be careful with the hype. Try to balance it with real value. If you're gonna have some MCP, for example, don't put everything on MCP because it's easy. It's just an annotation. Do not do it. Be careful. Try, see what it has impact, what is not. And finally, start small. If you have your whole company that could be using MCP, try one feature, put an MCP, put a human in the middle, try to make it simple so your developers and the whole ecosystem will thank you. Because if you never use MCP before and you're not a backend, if you add MCP to your SQL server or to your backend that allows to run SQL, insert and select, you can break your production fully if you give the ROM MCP to the ROM backend. Finally, I'm going to talk about hype in another way in open source. So how hype is done? So how hype is made about belief in a community. So if you have a belief only yourself, it's not called hype because you're alone. Maybe you're the crazy guy. Yeah, sure. I will share you the link of the tool list. And finally, we say, okay, there is a huge community that had a belief that is open source. So we said, okay, we do work with the Keycloak, but we wanted to do something else, also something different. For those who do not know Keycloak, Keycloak is older than CNCF. So it was not made for CNCF, and CNCF was not made to handle Keycloak. So we tried to say, okay, we are using Keycloak, we're gonna work in Keycloak, we'll do some PRs on Keycloak, but we would like to do something also to give back to the community in another way. So we said, okay, let's take another hype. There is a very big community on Rust that is known for being safe. It's a very, very small community in the comparing to Java community, but it's growing. They are very, very well connected. Like you would say, JavaScript community is also very, very well connected. And based on our experience, we could make it in a way that gives back to the company. We can make open source that makes money. Today, everybody talks about GitLab and how do they make open source and they make money, but they are not the only one, and there is not only one way to do it. And this is what we did. So we incubated, we're investing in this project that is another IAM. So called Ferris Key. We took it when it was like 20, 30 stars. It should be around like 430 right now. We are trying to push it. It's gonna be incubated by CNCF too. We are trying to push it so it grows to the level of having an IAM that is CNCF by default made in Rust. This is one way to do it. This is our way to give back to the community. We hire the main contributor of Ferris Key, so he works part-time on the project, and we give back to the whole community. And that's it for me. Thank you very much. And this is my LinkedIn if you ever want to connect with me.
Thank you, Luis.
You're welcome.
Oh, that was a really huge amount of information you put in there.
I'm sorry, it's an hour of conference. I try to make it as fast as I can, so you have all the ideas. If you ever want to see the long version, I think I will be able to share with you the link afterwards. And
yeah,
also
that
don't
would
hesitate
be
to connect
amazing
with
if you
me.
can put some links.
Yeah.
And I really like the way how you show us to these, steps before coding, while coding, and production. That is really good picture and representation that there is more and more things the deeper you will go. Okay, so thank you. I'm just reminding that was Luis Daniel Rubiera Guzman. There is no any technical issues anymore, so we can move we can move forward to our next speaker. And our next speaker is Valeria Mironova. She's a mathematician and freelance developer. She's also happy cat mom of 2 beautiful cats, Union Yoga enjoyer, and also wine coding enthusiast. It also correlates with the vibe coding sometimes, so you guys can check it on your own. Hello, Valeria, and the scene is yours.
Okay, thank you, Pavel. Let me demonstrate my screen. So, is it visible to everyone?
Yes, yes, all good.
Okay, let's start. Hello, everyone. Today I want to talk about hacking. Hacking. Our lives depend more and more on software and digital services. When software has bugs or security problems, or when people make mistakes, hackers can use it. Most attacks are a mix of different things. Sometimes they use bugs, they use security weaknesses, as I told, and the most often reason is human mistakes. So they could click malicious links, use weak passwords, or forget to update their system. And when these things happens together, there is a high chance that somebody get into your system. Some attacks are not serious and they don't steal money or hurt people. They are just jokes or pranks. For example, changing a website or showing funny messages on signs. But some attacks are very serious. They can block computers, steal private data, stop hospitals, or even target the infrastructure of a whole country. These attacks can cost millions of dollars and sometimes risks human lives. Before we talk about dangerous cases, I want to show you one light example. Maybe you heard that in 2018, something funny happened on YouTube. PewDiePie, a famous YouTuber from Sweden, was the number one channel in the world. Then a big company from India called T-Series started their own channel, and they started to grow very fast. People online began to joke that PewDiePie and T-Series were in a war for number one place on YouTube. Fans wanted PewDiePie to stay at the top, so they started a big campaign, subscribe to PewDiePie. And because of that, fans of PewDiePie hacked thousands of printers around the world. They printed suddenly messages like subscribe to PewDiePie and even your printer is exposed, please fix this. This attack, it didn't steal money or break anything, but it showed us a real problem. Many devices in the internet are not protected at all. A harmless hack, but also a security lesson for everyone. Next case is about a framework. Actually, Vue 2. It had and still has a security problem. There is a bad regular expression inside the parse HTML function. If an attacker sends special HTML input, the regex gets very slow. This can be used to cause a denial of service attack. And here is the disturbing part. Vue 2 is still used in many projects in 2025, but the framework is no longer supported, so this bug won't be fixed. And in the next case, the problem is different. It happened because of dependencies in a package. Hacker used an NPM package as a way in, and in 2018 something unusual happened and in the ecosystem of NPM. A popular package called Event Stream was taken over by a new developer, and the original maintainer gave this developer access. But after getting access, the new maintainer added a dependency called flatmap stream. This dependency contained malicious code. This code did nothing in most of the projects, but it had a very specific target, the Copay cryptocurrency wallet. When company developers made a new release, the malicious code changed the build of the app. The malware was designed to find large cryptocurrency wallets and send their sensitive information to the attacker. The issue was found before it caused big financial damage, but it showed how a small NPM package could be used to attack real users through their apps. The next attack was much more expensive. It cost a big company millions of dollars. Hacking started with social engineering. The hackers used special emails sent to Sony staff to trick them. Employees clicked on malicious links or gave away their passwords by mistakes. This gave the hackers first access to the network. The hackers were inside the Sony network for weeks or even months. They stole a huge amount of sensitive data, over 100 terabytes. This included emails, salaries, personal details, and new unreleased movies. Sony only found out about the attack on November 24. That day, the hackers launched a Viper program. This program destroyed data on thousands of computers and servers. A picture of red skeleton and a message from Guardians of Peace appeared on a screen, and this disruption made the hack public. The hackers demanded that Sony cancel the movie The Interview. They threatened to release more private emails, personal data, and movies if Sony did not agree. They also made threats against movie theaters showing the film. Sony spent over $100 million to fix their computer system, pay lawyers, and hire security experts. The movie The Interview wasn't shown in many cinemas. Sony lost millions of dollars in ticket sales. The hackers shared emails and personal details on the internet, so this made the company look bad and made staff and movie stars angry. Many employees sued Sony. Sony had to pay millions of dollars to fix these problems. Several new movies were stolen and put online before their release dates. The next attacks also started the same way, but the consequences were very different. In 2015, hackers attacked the power grid in Ukraine. Then they turned off electricity for more than 200,000 people. It was the first time in history when hacking caused a real blackout. It started with phishing emails. Workers opened a file with malware called Black Energy. Hackers stole passwords and got into the control system. They remotely turned off electricity at substations. Also, they used kill disk to delete files and slow down recovery. And they overload call centers so people could not report about problems with electricity. Turning off the electricity is very serious, but the next attack shows something even more frightening. It happened in healthcare. In September 2020, a hospital in Düsseldorf was hit by a ransomware attack. The attackers used a simple vulnerability, a path traversal bug. With this bug, an attacker can access files or parts of the system simply by adding // into a request. It was like walking outside the allowed folders by going up in the directory. But this vulnerability had been known for about 8 months before the attack. A security patch was already available and hospitals were warned, but this hospital didn't install the updates. Because of this, hackers were able to enter the system easily and deploy ransomware. The IT system went down completely. Doctors can't access computers, test results, or records. Also, some equipment stopped working. A woman who needed treatment could not be helped and was sent to another hospital 30 kilometers away, and later she died. At first, police believed this might be the first death caused by a cyber attack. Later, they said the patient was already in serious condition, so the case was dropped. But this incident showed how a bug and missing security updates can lead to real danger. Before I finish, I want to say one more important thing. Not all hacking is evil. Some hackers don't want money or to make damage. They want to show that a system has problems, so people can fix them. This is called white hat hacking. One of the examples is a famous hacking competition called Pwn to Own. In the competition, hackers try to break into browsers, phones, cars, and other devices, but they do it in a safe way, legal way. When a hacker finds a new vulnerability, the company gets this information about this vulnerability and they can fix the problem. The hackers get prizes and the world becomes safer. In this presentation, we saw that hacking can start in many ways and lead to very different results. It reminds us how important security in this global digital world is. So that's it. Maybe someone have questions.
Thank you, Valeria. I don't have questions. I just wanted to say a remark that probably our first speaker, who was talking about the stuff that will help us to keep our dependencies up to date, will help us in this area as well. So we will be sure that our dependencies are secure and safe to use. So thank you for your presentation. That was really good to see that not all hacks are bad. There is a white guys.
Yes, there is white guys, and also not every bad guys are completely bad, because in this Düsseldorf case, when hackers they realized that they attacked on a hospital, so the plan was to attack university computers, but they somehow missed and entered the hospital computers, and they just, when they figured that out, they just unblock the system, so hospitals start working again.
Oh, that's good to know.
So there is everywhere there is shades of gray, not black and white.
Yeah, everything is gray, but we are trying to make it white, at least as we can. Okay, there is one question in the chat. How much is it difficult to learn white hacking from a web developer or front-end or full-stack background?
I guess it depends on a person, because when I made my research about these cases, I figured out that some developers don't think that, for example, this Vue problem, Vue 2 problem, that it is a problem at all, but some I don't know how to say, maybe they have special characters, so it is interesting for them, and they starting to dig in this topic, trying. So maybe their thoughts go that way, that they notice these weaknesses in systems, in frameworks, or somewhere, and even there is cases when when bad guys how it's try to guess a password using the milliseconds before tries, between tries. So somehow there was different time of response between server responses, and they calculated, I guess, how much characters they, from the first, from the beginning of the password, they guessed or something like that. So I think, first of all, it's not about hard or easy, it's about your style of thinking. If it is if it is interesting for you, if you notice such stuff, so it will be easy, I guess, to look for some information in this cases and to study that. But if it's not interesting, so you will drop it anyway.
Yeah, I also heard that there is some resources that you can train your skills in hacking stuff, or even learn how to hack something. I even shared in the chat.
Even games. Even games. There is a games in browser that you can play like you're hacking something. Also, this competition point to you, and it's not a point to this competition that I mentioned at the end, and it's not the one in the world, so you can try to find, some communities that do that, and I guess they can help you to start from something.
Thank you. I think we have one more question from Luis in the chat. Question to Valeria. How do you think your background in math helps you in your domain?
Actually, to be honest, like a hobby, I studied game development at Unreal Engine 5, and my math background helped me there, because a lot of mechanics is math, I mean geometry, vectors, and also I am.
I think it's maybe a change in way of thinking of things.
Yes. By the way, yes, I guess the math helped me to think more abstract way. So for me, it's easy to solve something abstract way than something, which it helps a lot in programming. Abstract thinking, because we usually don't solve one problem, but a group of problems by one solution. So in that solution, you can have different inputs, but you need to have a result at the end. So if you can think abstract way, it helps.
Thank you. Okay, we already run out of time, so I think we have to end this meetup. Thanks everyone, thanks every participant there. This meeting was recorded and we will post it in our YouTube channel, so if you was not attend there, you will be able to check it out anyway. Thanks again for every participant, for every speaker, and see you guys on the next one in the next month. Bye-bye.